A new global study just confirmed what many of us have suspected for a long time. When it comes to the obesity crisis, diet matters way more than exercise. In fact, in this new paper, researchers say that diet is 10 times more important than physical activity when it comes to driving obesity rates. But before we all go canceling our gym memberships, let's talk about what this actually means. Hi, I'm Kaylin. I'm a nutrition scientist, and I'm here to simplify complex science and make it easy to understand for your life. I want to help you heal from chronic health issues from the inside out. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts about this study. And if you're interested in diving into this stuff further, be sure to click the links in my description to check out my Patreon, where I have a bunch of special perks, as well as my blog and the free resources that I have available to make your life better. Okay, to give you a quick overview of what the study is and what it's talking about, this study was just accepted and published in March of 2025 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, or PNAS. Let's take a look at what is in this study. So this study has been covered quite a bit lately in mainstream media outlets, and what it did was it looked at over 4,000 adults around the world. They measured how many calories people burned, otherwise known as their total energy expenditure, and they compared that with rates of obesity across different levels of economic development. Their conclusion was that people in wealthier countries are gaining weight not because we're moving less, but because we're eating more, specifically ultra-processed, high-calorie foods. The differences in how many calories we burn just weren't enough to explain the rise in obesity. So let's break that down. Imagine a person working a 9-to-5 at a tech company. They are sitting most of the day. They might go to the gym, but ultimately they are not moving too much throughout the day. Versus a person who lives in a more rural society, who works on a farm and is on their feet for most of the day, working and moving and walking, and their life consists of much more heavy labor. You would think that the second person would be expending quite a bit higher calories throughout the day because of all of this energy that is needed to do their daily tasks. And you might assume that the higher obesity rates in more developed countries are related to our lack of physical activity. The surprising finding was that the difference in overall energy expenditure is not as great as one would expect. And actually, obesity has a lot more to do with calories consumed versus calories burned. So let's dig into the study a little bit more and explore it together. So let's just dig into the abstract of this paper a little bit. Global economic development has been associated with an increased prevalence of obesity and related health problems. Increased caloric intake and reduced energy expenditure are both cited as development-related contributors to the obesity crisis, but their relative importance remains unsolved. Here, we examine energy expenditure and two measures of obesity, body fat percentage and body mass index, or BMI, for over 4,000 adults from 34 populations across 6 continents and a wide range of lifestyles and economies, including hunter-gatherer, pastoralist, farming, and industrialized populations. Economic development was positively associated with greater body mass, BMI, and body fat, but also with greater total basal and activity energy expenditure. Body size adjusted total energy expenditure was negatively but weakly associated with measures of obesity, accounting for roughly 1/10 of the elevated body fat percentage and BMI associated with economic development. In contrast, estimated energy intake was greater in economically developed populations, and in populations with available data, the percentage of ultra-processed food in the diet was associated with body fat percentage, suggesting that dietary intake plays a far greater role than reduced energy expenditure in obesity related to economic development. So that's just a longer way of saying what I just told you. It's important to note, as the paper states, that obesity is a leading cause of global mortality and morbidity, accounting for more than 4 million deaths and 140 million disability-adjusted life years worldwide each year. The causes of the modern obesity crisis remain a focus of debate in public health research, but appear to be related to economic development. Now listen, obesity was rare in the 1800s in the United States, for example, and remains so in traditional farming and foraging communities today, but has become common over the past century among most industrialized populations. So why is that the case? This is a modern phenomenon. This is not something that has been around in the levels that we're seeing it today for very long at all. So something has changed in the past 100 to 200 years that has caused this issue to skyrocket. Now, fundamentally, weight gain results from consuming and absorbing more calories than are expended. That is the oversimplified way of putting it, right? Public health organizations typically attribute this imbalance to both reduced physical activity, energy expenditure, and dietary changes promoting overconsumption. But assessing the relative contributions of expenditure and intake has proven challenging. So the measures that we have to record this data across different populations, it is difficult to measure that accurately. Industrialized populations are much less physically active than traditional farming and foraging communities, and daily physical activity has declined with industrialized populations over the past few decades as economic development increased. However, comparisons between populations and over time indicate that activity decline does not necessarily lead to corresponding reductions in total energy expenditure, or the total energy expended per 24 hours. Similarly, while industrialization and economic development have irrevocably changed our environments and the foods that we eat, the salient obesogenic aspects of modern lifestyles and diets and the importance of increased intake relative to declining expenditure are unclear. Basically, we know that our lifestyles have changed, but we're not sure exactly what is causing this, right? We have theories, but we're still not sure. So the results of the study found, as expected, that absolute body mass, body fat percentage, and BMI were greater in more economically developed populations. Notably, the increase in BMI with economic development was largely driven by greater fat-free mass in more developed populations. So this is saying, BMI is not the best measure that we have because it doesn't take into consideration the different components that make up the body's mass, such as we have fat mass, we have muscle mass, we have bone mass, etc. So this is saying that with economic development, there was a greater fat-free mass, so greater bone mass or muscle mass in the more developed populations, as well as greater fat mass. This makes sense if we consider that more developed nations have greater access to food and nutrition from a young age, which will ultimately increase the overall body mass of a person. Patterns of energy expenditure and obesity across this global sample challenge the hypothesis that decreased physical activity-related energy expenditure contributes meaningfully to the rise in obesity with economic development. So in summary, this study is finding that excess body fat is not due to the fact that we don't move enough, but rather to the fact that we are eating too much of the wrong foods. And this makes sense. According to the study, the differences in total energy expenditure between economic groups explained only about 1/10 of the increase in BMI and body fat percentage associated with economic development. So actually, we see that absolute measures of energy expenditure are greater in more economically developed populations, likely due to the fact of increased overall body size. Now, although this study has been praised for its use of objective measures and determining energy expenditure, there is also some concern of limitations of this study, including that the database may be uneven, such as including more data from those in economically developed countries than data from people in developing countries. Now, here's what I don't want you to hear. I don't want you to hear that movement doesn't matter or exercise is therefore unimportant. That couldn't be further from the truth. It may not be the biggest driver when it comes to weight loss, but it has massive benefits that can't be understated. It improves cardiovascular health and metabolic health. It builds muscle mass, which also boosts your metabolic rate. It supports blood sugar regulation, improves energy, sleep, resilience. It's not just about burning calories, but it's about building a body that uses energy more efficiently. It's really important that we continue to consistently keep up our physical activity while also noting that diet is extremely important. So if you are considering changing your body composition, if you want to get healthier and you feel that you have excess body fat and you want to lose that, it is more beneficial for you to focus on nutrition, diet, and lifestyle changes versus exhausting yourself at the gym every day. Also, something else I want to mention. This study might lead some people to double down on the old calories in, calories out model. And yes, on paper, in very simplified terms, this is true, right? If we consume more calories than we are expending, our bodies naturally need to store that somewhere, and that's going to end up in excess fat tissue. However, it's more complex than that. It's not just about how many calories you eat. It's also what kind of foods you're eating. And this study touches on that. It's about when you're eating food. It's about how the foods that you're eating affect your hormones, cravings, satiety. It's about whether you're eating nutrient-dense real foods or ultra-processed empty calories, right? The crazy thing is that many people with obesity are actually undernourished. Their bodies are starved for real nutrients, not just calories. And it's also too simple to say that this is just an issue of overeating, right? Because there are many factors at play here. There are emotional factors, right? A person's relationship with food. There are physical factors such as genetics and epigenetics, and a person's overall metabolic rate. I've in fact witnessed so many stories of people who are dealing with excess weight, but actually are barely eating throughout the day. Their bodies are stuck in starvation mode. Their thyroid is downregulated, their metabolism is sluggish, and they're highly insulin resistant. And how does this happen? This happens when you skip meals or restrict all day. Then maybe you eat a lot late at night, or you suddenly find yourself snacking unstoppably. And at night, your insulin sensitivity is lower. So this is going to lead to increased blood sugar fluctuations. Your blood sugar is going to spike, and then it's going to crash, and it's going to leave you feeling bad. The cycle repeats, keeping you stuck here. So again, I want to reiterate that obesity is not just about overeating. It's about metabolic dysfunction, stress, inflammation, poor sleep, thyroid health, more. Like, these things are all interconnected, and the real danger is thinking that there is just a one-size-fits-all solution. Just eat less, move more, right? That's what we're often told. But biology is nuanced. Your physiology is designed with a purpose to keep you alive, to keep you safe, right? Your body is going to try to conserve body mass, and that's why weight loss is so difficult, because your body has a memory or a set point that it will try to keep you at, because any signal that there is a sort of famine will lead your body to assume that it's not safe and that it needs to conserve at all costs. So that's why weight loss can be so difficult, and that it's easy to regain weight once it's lost, because your body is really doing what it's designed to do, which is to protect you and keep you alive. But that's why it's so important to be intentional with the ways that we are losing weight, with the methods that we're using. It's so important to work with professionals who can help you really understand what it is that you're doing. In my health journey, I did some crazy things and realized that I didn't know what I was doing, and I could have benefited so much from having someone guiding me along the way who knew what they were doing, who was a trained professional. And so I definitely recommend, if you are wanting to change your body composition, if you're wanting to lose weight, I would recommend working with a qualified professional who can help you figure out what you need for your body. Because you may feel like you're doing everything right and you still struggle. I want to encourage you that it's not your fault that you live within a broken system and you don't know what you don't know. But there's so much you can do today to improve your quality of life. So what can we take away from this study? Prioritize real whole foods and reduce ultra-processed ones, for starters. You don't need to run on a treadmill for hours every single day at the gym, but do incorporate healthy movement into your life wherever you can, especially strength training, because increasing muscle mass actually helps to increase your metabolic rate and will ultimately help you to lose weight easier. But also, don't just look at calories in, calories out, right? Look at sleep, look at the stress in your life, look at your blood sugar, look at your eating patterns, get some labs done, figure out what is at the root of your issues and how you can start to heal from those by making new choices every single day. Above all, I want to encourage you to eat enough. Nourishment matters more than restriction. So I encourage you to remember that every bite you eat matters. Every bite of food that you take in is giving your body information. Is it going to be helpful information that's going to build your body up? Or is it going to be information that is going to cause inflammation and chaos? Your body was made to thrive. It was designed to be healthy. And although there are different challenges and barriers that many of us face, I want to encourage you to do the best that you can with the body that you're given, to take accountability, take responsibility, and to do your best to thrive in whatever stage of life you're at, in whatever body you have. You can do things today to improve your health. If you want help understanding how to eat in a way that nourishes your body, balances your hormones, supports your metabolism, all of that good stuff, I'll be working on more educational content coming out. I have a meal prepping guide and a grocery shopping guide, and I really encourage you to check out those free resources, check out my blog, click the links in the description, check out the Patreon. All of this stuff is here for you. And be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be notified when more exciting things come out that are going to make your life better. Also, please hit the like button and leave a comment letting me know, did this study change your mind about weight loss? Did it change how you think about obesity? And what is your story? What has your experience been like over the years? What are some ways that you have struggled or overcome? Maybe ways that you are still looking for support. I want to hear from you. So be sure to share in the comments and join the conversation, join the community, and be on the lookout for my next video. I'll see you soon and be well.